You are now listening to Fight Life Unfiltered.
We're all good.
Yeah, we're fucking. I think we're recording too, right?
Yeah.
We don't even have a name, but
Yeah.
like, no, dude, this is. I'm fucking stoked.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I love it. I love the idea of it. I've always wanted to kind of have like a little podcast and something to call my own. So I'm excited.
I've had so many people, both from the gym, people that know you, that were like super, super excited about me having you on, but people that I've never talked to that were like, I've heard about this kid in Pittsburgh MMA regionally.
Really?
And oh yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it's always people at the Y. Like I'm starting to be known.
Damn.
It's funny because I'm not the guy that's like doing any competing,
Yeah.
but they know me as like the MMA guy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
10 years too late. I'm old. Like I'll be in the Masters division here soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, it's super exciting. I think your personality, like I was thinking about after we had this, I was like, man, it'd be nice to do something more regular with you and get to show. Like it felt a little bit like an interview, although I don't think it was an interview.
Yeah.
To show your true personality. I think people they see you on social. They see your fights. They see the persona. I think, and we talked about Tim Welch and Sean O'Malley, like getting an insider glimpse into the day to day, the week to week, the month to month, some of the details that don't go into something where it's just like, hey, I'm going to have you on a podcast. I think that stuff is so important, especially as you grow your brand. So I'm like super stoked to be a part of that.
Yeah. And I'm excited too. And I love anybody, willing to help out, want to invest a little bit. And,
you don't need my help. You just need a microphone in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it though. I mean, obviously I'm doing something right if, random people at the wire talking to you. So
dude, random people that I wouldn't think even know what MMA is, let alone know who Lucas Siebert is.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I'm getting a little bit of that. Like lately, people recognize me at work and stuff, which is cool. Pittsburgh's a small town too, so it's like everybody knows of what's going on, and I think that's the cool thing about this city that I love so much is like, people, they jump on a Pittsburgh guy, right?
Yeah.
I might not even be. I'm not from Pittsburgh, right? And people just jump on me. People love that. That I rep the city, and there's a couple other guys in Pittsburgh that rep it just as much. Justin Patton's like biggest name.
Where's he from?
He trains at Matt Factory. He also trained at the academy, and he's from Pittsburgh.
He is from Pittsburgh, though.
Yeah, he's from Pittsburgh. He actually fights for 247 September 21st. Okay. He's the main event, and his fight, he wins, he might get a shot.
Yeah,
UFC, and he's but me and him kind of like the two guys and kind of like leading the charge in Pittsburgh. There's other guys too, but we're in the forefront because we fight in the city a lot.
It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I love it.
And did you announce the fight yet?
No.
Are you allowed to? When are you allowed to do that?
I am on the next 247 card. I can't announce the opponent, I don't think, but yeah, I'm on the next 247 card. It's October 26th.
Like, are you starting to train specifically for that opponent, or is when does camp like really start to shift for you into more like fight specific?
So right now I'd be like 8 weeks out, I think. Something like that, right? So a little bit less than 2 months, right? So October 26th, August like 31st, right? So it's right now about is the time where it's like, all right, we got a certain opponent, we got a certain guy doing certain things, and we kind of dial in for that. But at the lower level pro and especially amateur, it's not about your opponent. It's about you getting better, right? So it's like, all right, I need to work on this, not specific to an opponent, right?
Who's the guy? I'm trying to think. It's TJ Dillashaw's strength and condining coach. You know who I'm talking about? They've got that place in Southern California where they just like drive people really hard.
Yeah. The training lab or whatever.
Yeah,
that guy.
Oh, I forget. But I was hearing him talk, and they were saying like in fight camp, you shouldn't be trying to learn new skills.
No,
like you should be trying to learn new skills while you're waiting to set that next date. And that like 8 weeks out, now it's like, okay, how do we start to get the conditioning and other things, the repetition into a spot so that you're peaking?
Yeah.
But like I mean, do you subscribe to that same mentality, or like how do you, if you were to face somebody that's really different, like are you going to try to learn something in 8 weeks that you're going to implement in a fight, or are you just honing what you already have learned?
So it's gonna like for me, it's gonna depend on my coach, right? So my coach is. So Will is gonna watch the guy fight, watch his fights, send me a breakdown, long video. I'm gonna watch it a couple times, and then it'll be like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna X, Y, and Z. This guy's gonna do this here. Like he gives me a 1 hour breakdown video film of his striking grappling, right? And then I work on grappling with Mike and striking with Will for that opponent. But to be honest with you, like he doesn't send it until about a month out.
Okay.
Until then, especially lower level pro or amateur, like you're developing skills, right? If I'm fighting somebody in the UFC in a couple of years, it's going to be different, right? Because they have so much, and I'm going to have more time to prepare, right? You typically get those like 12 weeks out. So it's kind of dependent on the situation.
Do you watch a lot of your own stuff
I
leading
have
up?
been lately.
Like they kind of break tendencies so that if people are watching things that you do, you can try to actually adapt and change that?
Yeah, I have been lately. I've been watching a lot more film. I've been a lot more just like invested in stuff like that. My own training, kind of, seeing them, just watching kind of like what the good guys do, right? They watch their own film.
Yeah.
Like you got to be your own biggest fan, you know?
I would imagine there's at this level almost more to gain by watching yourself and seeing yourself on video and film to be like, oh wow, like when he does this, I'm doing this, which gives you a chance to improve, but it's also what you're watching is what somebody else is going to be watching. And maybe the same way you're going to be picking up tendencies for your opponents. I mean, is it hard to change those tendencies when you've been, I mean, I know you haven't been fighting really that long, but
Yeah, if I'm like conscious of them and I'm thinking about them, I go into sparring with a specific thought on like what things I want to hit
yeah.
or things I want to avoid, right? I was having a problem with my feints, right? And Will said it, and I think one of my best attributes as a fighter is that I'm a good listener and I can apply something that I'm told or that I see like right away. So if Will's like, you're doing this too much, or you're not doing this well enough, or I need you to throw a kick harder, or whatever, I can, hear that and immediately apply it. So that's going to be super important when one, I'm in a camp applying it for something, or I'm sitting on a stool in between a round and Will's like, I need you to step into this or whatever, right? So, it kind of depends.
How much does that corner work impact you? I was
In
watching,
between fight, like
yeah,
in a fight,
yeah.
a lot.
I like that. Like when I'm watching like a UFC event or a boxing match, I feel like I almost enjoy the corner
Yeah.
as much as I do watching the fight itself.
Yeah, I think that's like, it's awesome, especially once you know more. You know what I mean? Like for like a casual person when you're watching it, they don't know as much, right? So I love the audio. I love like Contender Series. There was a guy that fought last week and he was like laying on his back in between rounds. It was cool because like his coaches were very, very like polished and like knew what they were saying and giving them the best advice, and they know how to talk to that specific person. Mike and Will know how to talk to me. They know what to say. They know what to say in between rounds. If I'm hurt, if I'm losing, if I'm winning, they tell me like they just know. They know me, right? They've been around me for 2 years, and they've been around me highs and lows and this and that, So I think that's important. It's like having cornermen that like know you like the back of your hand.
Yeah. I think that's with anything. I just heard, Jonah Hill, the actor,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He was talking about when they were filming Wolf of Wall Street. There's a scene where he goes and calls, I think his dad or his brother, and he's telling him that he's quitting his job to go work for Jordan Belfort. And the clip that I saw, he's like, I tried it. We were on like our 20th take. He's like, Leonardo's like standing there looking at me kind of with his head down. And Martin Scorsese, who's directing the film, was like, cut, like, let's just go take a break. And he's like, hey, kid, come with me really quick. And so he's like, I went into this office with Martin Scorsese and he's like, have a seat. And he grabbed a newspaper and he just started reading the newspaper. And he was like, he didn't speak to me. He's like, and after 20 minutes, I kind of like calmed down because I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I'm just waiting for this guy to finish reading a newspaper. It's bizarre. And then like after 20 minutes, he's like, hey, are you ready? Do you want to go do this again? He's like, yeah, sure. So he went and did 2 takes and they got it. He's like, and it clicked. He saw that I was trying too hard and he was like, we're just going to go do something different. And I'm just going to make him sit here and watch me until he drops his guard and almost kind of like relaxes a little bit without being told, hey, you need to relax.
Yeah.
Right. Like he played a mind trick on him.
Sometimes you need to be able to do that.
I think when you look at some
like
of the coaches,
a good coach knows how to apply stuff like that.
yeah.
Right? A good coach can see you, know what you're thinking, kind of.
Yeah.
I've had coaches like that. But the best coach I've ever had is Mike and Will, and they know how to like get to me in specific ways. But like, you know, I help, we all help coach each other like as fighters, right? I remember one specific time, I was with Anthony Hoagback, and we were going to the MMA lab and we were sparring. It was a Saturday, and Anthony's about to he's about to have his second pro fight for 247 September 21st, and he was about to make his pro debut, and like I know. I've been lucky enough, been blessed enough, wrestling, been around like big rooms, right? I've been around Olympic champions. Been, you know, I trained with like Matt Brown, Mark. I've seen a lot of like people. So like when I see somebody in a room, it doesn't like I don't get that shock value. You know what I mean? I don't get that like, oh shit.
When was the last time you did have that feeling when you saw somebody?
Dude, Mark Coleman's probably it.
Really?
Like, yeah, and then like I'm kind of like I don't know, I'm kind of used to it at this point.
Yeah.
Like even when I saw O'Malley, I wasn't like, oh shit. You know what I mean? It's just like nowadays it's
just
like,
kind of part of the game.
Yeah, it's just how it goes. But yeah, like I remember like Anthony and I like saw his fuck. I saw it in his eyes. I was like, oh, he looks like nervous, and just like walked over and I was like, bro, you belong here. You know what I mean? Like you're a fucking pro fighter just like everybody else. And like it just clicked with him.
Have you ever seen
he balled out, had a great sparring session, like because he belongs, like Anthony's right on par with me, you know, we're head to head.
Yeah.
But sometimes you need somebody that you need like a confirmation from somebody to be like, you're right. You know?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You ever seen Tim Bradley? There's like it's Freddie Roach talking to Tim Bradley. I want to say it's like the 10th round of a fight. I don't remember who he was fighting, but he talks about him being like, he's like, we're firemen. He's like, the fire's coming.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's like, we're firemen. He's like, we love the fire. We embrace the fire. I mean, it's just like, I watch that sometimes just when I'm feeling like I need to get a little pick me up. I'll go search Freddie Roach clip. And it's just like, to that point, like telling him, confirming with him, like, dude, you're made for this. Don't doubt yourself. And sometimes I see some of these guys in the corner and it's like you have what, a minute in a fight to sit there in the corner, and you've got somebody that's giving you so much technique and so much, and it's like you can see some of these guys, they're overwhelmed. And it's like what they need was like, okay, take a second, take a breath, get yourself ready. I love listening to Trevor Whitman. Like he's like, hey, okay, first 15 seconds, take some breaths. Let's get, no matter how the round is going, it's not like, what are you doing? We've got to do this. He has a concept of time, and he's so confident that he's going to be able to communicate, partially because it's like he's got such a great relationship with those guys.
Yeah, and Trevor Whitman's a good person, and I I think he's best coach in MMA probably. And my coach has a very like, it's very similar approach. And one is like, as soon as you sit on the stool, if you start telling me, giving me advice, I'm not going to comprehend what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going through it. Right. So you need to have that relaxing moment, and you need to, as a coach and as a fighter, be confident enough to like, we can spend this entire minute and not say a thing, and it's fine. It's just catch your breath. Right. But what we usually do is like first 30 seconds is catching your breath. Last 30 seconds, it's advice. And then, you know, you only get a minute. So don't waste that minute being in that panic mode, right? The fight, it brings out your fight or flight. It brings out your panic, your oh shit feeling.
Yeah.
Right. You don't need to be in that all the time, right? That minute is for you to calm down, relax, get deep breaths, slow your heart rate down, take, you know, input from your coaches, and then get back up there. It's not to, you know, be on the stool thinking, oh shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's your time to relax and calm down.
I haven't trained with Mike as a coach in a while, just the way the timing works out, and when he was up in Zealy. And I went to a class on Monday. My buddy Bill, he's moving. He just got his purple belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'll go and change days. A couple of us knew in advance he was going to get it. But it was a class that Mike taught. And it was just a fundies gi class. And I just forgot the level of excitement and the passion that pours out of him, right? And everybody's great and everybody has their own style. But I was like, damn, like I left there wanting to run through a brick wall, and it was a fundies gi class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like that is tangible. You can feel that energy.
Yeah, and that energy is why like I've stayed here, right? Because there you can go to bigger gyms and it can be, it's a job at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying Mike doesn't come in sometimes and it's a job. I mean, he's got family and shit like that, but like when Mike's into something, like he's into it. Same with Will. Like you're like they're invested in the moment, right? They think where I'm at the time, right? They're very good at that. They're very, and that's a skill in itself. A lot of people don't have that skill. A lot of people are like, shit, some dude cut me off on the way here. I'm pissed off about that. I owe this amount of money. I got to pay my car insurance tomorrow. Like people are all pissed
Girl
off about, yeah,
problems.
girl problems, right? This is your time to like, you know, decompress. You're at work, right?
Yeah.
But like we also are doing what we love. So focus on it, but enjoy it because that's, I'm not, if I didn't enjoy fighting, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
There's way easier ways to make a living, and there's like, way easier ways to make money.
Where does that come from for you?
What?
That desire to fight?
I don't know. I think for me, like originally it was just like I just was a kid with a chip on my shoulder. I was a small kid. I was the youngest of three brothers. My older brothers were like, I mean, they weren't like dickhead brothers either, right? They were just like, but I just like, you're in their shadow, right? I always wanted to be like my brothers, be cooler than my brothers, right? So they wrestled, and they weren't like super high level wrestlers, but I thought they were the coolest people in the world. So I was like, I'm gonna wrestle. You know what I mean? I got to start younger because they started when they were in high school and middle school, and I just always had a chip on my shoulder, man. Like I don't know why. Like when I played football, I was the smallest kid, and I was wanted to be the scrappiest kid. I played basketball. I was the smallest kid. I was the one getting rebounds. Like I was just like, just always a chip on my shoulder. I don't know.
Did you get in a lot of fights growing up?
Yeah, yeah. I got in a lot of fights, and it not like too many in school. I didn't get in like school fights because I wanted to wrestle, and I knew if I got in a fight at school, I would be ineligible, and I was scared of my dad. Mostly, which is ironic because like my dad would support me through anything, but he was just like, I just didn't want to come home and like,
oh, dude,
I didn't want to disappoint my dad.
I
wasn't even like scared of him. Like he was going to like, beat me. Like that wasn't that. I just don't want to like disappoint my father. Right. He's the best dude in the world. And he still is a great father. So, I didn't want to disappoint him, but I did get in my fair share of fights. I got most of my fights when I turned 18 and started like going out. That was when I was like,
and had a strong wrestling background and confidence in yourself, and probably knew if not that you were looking for it, but I imagine whenever
I think it was the opposite. I think I was into MMA.
Okay.
And I was a young kid, and I was almost like I still had this chip on my shoulder.
Like you needed to prove something.
Like I felt like I needed to prove something. You're at a bar and some dude's looking at you or like looking at your girl and you're like, yo, fuck you. You know what I mean? Shit just happens fast.
Yeah.
Or like you're a white boy at a bar in Columbus and people are fucking with you and you're like, oh, what? I was always like, and I always, in those circumstances, like I'm just willing to go there when a lot of people weren't. And, that would highly not advise people to go do that shit, especially nowadays.
Dude, it's crazy. Just even in the last like 5 or 6 years, I feel like
cameras everywhere and
knives and guns.
And it just puts you in a bad situation. You don't want to put yourself in a bad situation or the people around you. That's when, and then once you learn how to fight, then you're not fighting one person, you're fighting 10. You know what I mean? Then like you start beating up a dude, his friend jumps in, then you're putting your friends at risk. It's just a terrible idea. but it is something that, is part of my past, but
Yeah.
that's life.
Yeah. No, I'm the oldest of four boys,
Yeah.
and I can relate. And like my younger brothers more than the older few, like we always got into it with each other and different things and like neighborhood fights with other kids.
Yeah.
But like the third oldest reminds me a lot of you, and like just
Hmm.
like scrappy, was just always chippy, just always. I don't know if it was, I'd have to ask him, like, what was it? Was it that you were trying to live up to something? Did you feel like what was it? But dude, like even now we go somewhere, he's the one that's like, what the fuck are you looking at? Like what? And I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
chill the fuck out. Like stop, like relax.
Yeah.
He just
Yeah.
short fuse, a
I
lot like my dad.
I try not to be like, I think I have a better handle on it now, right? Just
Yeah.
maturity and stuff like that. Um, but I also like, I won't let people like walk all over me. I just because I think I did it a lot when I was a kid, and it fucked it long term. You know what
Bothered
I
you a little
mean?
bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and like people like walk all over you in school, and you don't stand up for yourself, and then like you're the one that has to deal with that when you
And
go
then
back.
somebody else pays for it later down the road.
Yeah, and then some people, yeah, and then you're just like holding on to that, and it's like, that's not something, if somebody's gonna, and it doesn't have to be like aggressive thing. And just be like, yo, like why'd you say that? Like why are you being that way? You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? And most of the time people will just meet you with, they'll be like, oh, I didn't, my bad, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think I just always, had a little bit of a chip on my shoulder.
Do people try you because you're a fighter now? Like
No,
if you're out, are they like, oh, there's that kid who's the MMA fighter?
no, I think if I like get tried, it's because like I'm just confident and I'm comfortable in my own skin. And people hate confidence. People hate it,
Mm-hmm.
right? People hate when somebody walks into a room and they are just confident. It's I don't know what it is. I don't know why. Like everybody has it. Like I think it's like an envy thing because I'll do it too. Like if somebody walks into a room, and they're like hot hot shit, I'm like, who's that guy? And then I'll immediately like now that I catch myself and I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I
You almost,
disliking
do you
somebody?
shift now a little bit where instead of feeling like this, who is that and like I need to prove myself, or more like you'll welcome somebody else who's like that, basically like, hey, you and I are more alike here than not alike,
Yeah,
because you've kind of
yeah,
proven to
for
yourself.
sure. Yeah, there's a dude in the fighting like regional scene. His name's Cowboy Eddie, and he was like super similar, right? And I think I've told this story before. It's like I remember watching him fight the first time. So the Meadows, it was April, would have been 23. He walks out, he's got a cowboy hat, and he walks out the Lil Nas X. And I was like, who the fuck does this kid think he is? Like, what?
Just rubs you the
And
wrong
it
way
reminded me,
instantly.
it was the same place I Amy debuted. And I walked out with a flag, the West Virginia flag, like to
Yeah.
Tupac.
So
You
let me
know,
ask you this. Why do you do that? Is it because you truly want to do it, or is there a part of you that
yeah.
knows you're fucking doing the same thing to other people who are like, who the fuck does this kid think he is?
I don't know. Like yeah, it's just like who I am. Like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it full
Yeah.
force. Like I'm gonna love it. I'm going to love. Like I think my thing is I just wear my heart on my sleeve, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm gonna walk out, like it's gonna be fun. You know what I mean? I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
be me. I'm gonna walk out to a song I like and be me. And I'm gonna have a smile on my face while I do it.
Mm-hmm.
This dude was similar, right? He walks out with a cowboy hat, just smile on his face, cocky, wins his fight, jumps on the cage. And like I remember him being on the cage, and like the whole time I hope this dude loses. Like, you know what I mean? Because like that's like a thing that humans do,
Yeah.
right? I was like, and then as soon as he did it, I watched it and I like him. I like him. You know what I mean? I was like, you know what? Like, why would I dislike somebody that's like that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think for me it's just like understanding, especially in the fighting world, people having personas and this and that. Like, just if you're you, that's cool, right? I don't care who you are, like what your quirks are, like what you're into, but like just be you. Don't be
Yeah.
anybody else. I hate that.
Is there anybody right now in the regional scene, like before you make that step, that you're kind of like, God, I hope that this person and I end up in a cage together?
In the regional scene, nah, not anybody too much in that. I want to fight somebody good, man. I want to fight somebody that's like got off contender series, or somebody like, there's no names, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm the name for a lot of people, right? And I like that. I love that. So whoever wants to fight me, that's the guy I want to fight because, I'm not, you know, I'm in my head, I'm the guy that a lot of people want to fight, and it's been like that.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from like the confidence and stuff like that. But I mean, I'm trying to think, not anybody in particular.
Like
Not
no
really.
beef that's like that you want to just shut somebody up because they've been running their mouth for a while.
Nah, not really. No. I mean, I've had that back and forth before. And yeah, I've always signed fights. I've I've signed everybody that's had beef with me, I've signed a fight for it. A lot of them have fallen out. None of them have happened. And none of them have I backed out for. So there's nobody in particular that I personally want to fight. And I also feel like, the people that call me out, they're below me. Well, I
Yeah. So like,
what I
what's the point of doing it at that point?
Yeah, but it's also regional fighting. And like, if you're below me, I'll drop down, knock you out real quick, get a double my record. I'm cool with that. You know what I mean? But I'm not, no names off the top of my head. No.
Yeah. What I was telling you when I got here, there's a dude I kept seeing his shit pop up as like suggested for you. Uh, what was his name? Giorgio. He was a wrestler from Ohio. Giorgio, I want to say he's from the Youngstown area. He's
Okay.
got this Instagram account now where he holds up a sign and he's like, "Take me down and I'll give you
I
$1,000."
love
Do you know
that.
who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was a state champ in Ohio.
Huh. No, I don't. But the original person that used to do that was Dylan Palacio.
Okay.
He wrestled at Cornell, and he would like wear like a like tight like bikini like type singlet.
Big dude or
He wrestled, I think, 157 in college. Jacked though, like 0% body fat
yeah.
type of guy. And he would just go up to random people and do that. But no, I
This
haven't
dude's
seen that.
respectful. Like he doesn't,
Yeah.
although he did it to Bradley Martin. Bradley couldn't take him down.
Oh, okay.
Like he's done it with some bigger. He's starting to grow like a pretty big following.
Yeah.
And I think he ended up wrestling at Cleveland State.
Okay.
Um, but you know, oh, there we
Oh,
go.
that worked.
But yeah, I was just checking his stuff out and I was like, oh shit, he's from Ohio. Because he had a YouTube show that popped up. It was like him going back home from LA,
Okay.
like seeing his family.
I didn't know. I didn't know. Dude, there's something about people from Ohio. I'll tell you right now. There's something about people from Ohio.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
like nose of the grindstone. They all get out too.
Yeah, right.
Like the Paul brothers, people like that.
Yeah,
Like,
you
it's
forget about
not,
that. They're from
yeah,
Ohio.
they're from Cleveland. Uh, one of the heights in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people from Ohio that just like make it in that industry too, like the like podcast network industry type thing.
Boredom.
Boredom, maybe. Yeah, maybe a little bit of boredom and like that, like, just like willing to grind. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about Pittsburgh too. It's very similar, like very similar people,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're just like willing to grind. If you're from somewhere else, fuck you. I'm for like I love the place I'm at. I love my people, but we're gonna be successful. I'm taking everybody with me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That mentality. That's the mentality of like the
Mm-hmm.
Ohio, the Pennsylvania, the West Virginia,
Mm-hmm.
tri-state type area.
What type of stuff are you working on right now?
What do you mean?
Like as far as just improving all around? Like what do you see as your biggest opportunity to continue to take those steps?
I think my biggest opportunity is being a professional. Like doing the things right outside, right? When I'm in the gym, I'm doing the right stuff, but am I eating right when I go home? Am I getting adequate sleep? Am I taking care of myself? Do I have added stressors, right? What am I doing to better when I'm in the gym? What am I doing outside? I think that's the biggest thing. I started working with a nutritionist, Milo training. He kind of gave me like, my macros, stuff like that, right? Stuff that I have knowledge of, but sometimes, I need that person You know, everybody needs that person. So
Were you like that bad with it as far as your diet?
I can be. I'm not like I've honestly like been worse lately. I don't know why, but I think just dialing in
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Right. There's always room for improvement. There's gonna be times where like I won't won't have like I'll have my diet down and it'll be like, all right, are you sleeping enough?
Yeah.
Uh but I think that's like been my thing mostly. And just like, bringing people up with me too, right? Not letting like the because I think it happens when people start to go pro, people get jealous of each other, this and that,
It's an interesting perspective.
bringing it up. You know what I mean? The Pittsburgh scene, right? Because I do think like a rising tide lifts all ships. But if I'm like, jealous of,
Or it can sink yours.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or you can sink the people around you, right? Why do I need to put somebody down to bring myself up?
Hmm.
No, we'll all come up together. And I think that's what this team's good at. I think that's why this gym has propelled in the last 2 years. You look at people like on the fight team, me and Brittany, and then we were the top dogs last year, where we kind of like we knocked off a bunch of fights, went
Hmm.
pro. You know what I mean? This year, Anthony Hogeback, Josh Fasoki, Luke Martin. Then we have people that haven't even fought yet, like Josh Ramirez, like just people on the come up. And what's happening is we're all lifting each other up, and we all have our coaches, and they're lifting us up as well.
Hmm.
And then we're building a team. Not all of us are going to make it, and that's the shitty truth of it. But if we all build each other up, there's going to be a couple people that get through, and there's going to be you know, we'll all take each other with us. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
when I go fight on the Contender Series, Josh Ramirez and Luke Martin and Anthony Hogeback are gonna come with me, because they're gonna get that experience, and they're gonna be like, you know, this is what it's like. I want this. You know what I mean? Like I want to bring people with me.
Yeah. It's interesting because I've heard this, and you've got the gym Extreme Couture out in Vegas, and you see a lot of guys who, because of the location to the UFC, probably the ability to use the PI, you get guys that start to go out there, and Nick's an amazing coach. But I would say the one criticism that I've heard is that it's kind of like this transient community, and you don't have that. I think a lot of guys don't value enough keeping that team
Yeah, that
that they have.
loyalty,
Yeah,
right?
that
That you
that
came up with. And I think it does like there's a fine line. There's a gray area, right? Because like I do need to like there needs to be cross training, right?
mhm.
But you can't let your ego get in the way of it. That's where it's an issue, right? If I'm like, nah, like I'm the guy, then like first off, I don't got to fight right now. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't be taking time away from the good. I'm gonna help my guys,
Mhm.
right? I can be like I can be whoever you're fighting next week, right? He's a southpaw, I'll stand southpaw. You know what I mean? In turn, when I'm fighting somebody, you do the same thing for me, right? That's how a team works, right? There's give and takes, right? It's not like, it's not a selfish thing.
Well, no, I guess there's not as much in this level need to fight a teammate. Like when you get to the
Yeah.
UFC, there may be like Marab and Aljo, right? It's
Yeah.
just like,
I mean, really, it doesn't really happen unless you get to the top,
because
because
then
like
there's
eventually
nowhere
it's
else to
like, all right,
go.
there's nowhere else to go. Like we
Yeah.
have to fight each other.
Would you like if that was you? Like if you were in that gym, you're a champion, or
It depends who it is. It
really.
really it really does depend who it is. It depends on our relationship. It depends. Like there's some people that like I'm closer with that I would be like, nah, we could scrap it out and be cool. Like Luke Martin's one of my best
But
friends, and we've known
you
each
guys
other
would
since
do it.
we were 18. But I know if me and Luke fought, like it would be like if we're like one of us got to win a UFC title, then one of us got to win a UFC title. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is what it is.
Hmm.
Um, but I know that there are things that happen with that. I've wrestled off some of my best friends, right? It's not a fun thing. Um, and if there's like certain people, you know what I mean? If it's like winning a regional title, absolutely not.
Not worth it.
Absolutely not. It's not worth it. If it's on the Contender Series, yeah, like you got to do what you got to do. But they would never match people from the same exact team, could be like somebody from the city maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, Kama actually fought somebody from Pittsburgh to get into the or for his first fight in the UFC, I believe. I forget who it was.
Just different team.
I've heard that story before. Yeah. Just sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Cody Garbrandt, Dom Mazzata fought each other. I think like Cody's like fourth or fifth fight. Yeah. Sometimes that's
and that's crazy too. I mean, he's nothing but loyalty. I mean, you think about the whole thing with TJ and Alpha Male, and like that's
his uncle was just in here.
Really?
Cody's,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, he's a striker
every Saturday.
Yeah, that's right.
Stingray.
Yeah, badass.
Yeah, I love it.
Cody is such a fucking badass.
Cody was like one of my favorite fighters when I was a kid, man. Like probably like
persona. Just I mean, tough as nails.
Bad motherfucker from Ohio.
Hands, man.
It's a bad motherfucker from Ohio. Yeah. He wrestled at Claymont. He was a state champ, maybe, I think his freshman year. And then he started boxing and stuff with his uncle. But yeah, I would love to work with Cody one day. That'd be sick.
Yeah.
Go out to Vegas, train with him.
Yeah, that would be.
Yeah.
I could see that being a really good matching.
Yeah, for training part for sure. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I just had something that was in my mind. My brain completely took a fucking fart. I don't even remember what it was now.
What dream matchup?
Oh God, no, I can't imagine what that would be for you.
I don't know, man. That would probably be like somebody like O'Malley or like
you're talking about Sandhagen.
Yeah, I think we had this conversation. I love Sandhagen. His fight with Umar was crazy. But yeah, somebody like that or a wrestler, or even like going up weight classes, like fighting Max. Like I love that stuff. Like the willingness to go do that. Like when you talk about like what Conor McGregor did, where he was like, all right, I'm gonna go up fight Nate Diaz, right? Like it just adds like an extra what if to fighting.
Oh, dude, they elevated each other. It's a shame. I personally, I'm at the point I don't think we will see Conor fight ever again.
I think he's gonna do one more fight.
You think he fights?
I think
he fights
one more time for a lot of money. I don't know who he fights. I think odds are he fights Jake Paul in boxing. If I were to put money on it.
Yeah, right. Like
I think that
something
happens,
that's a money grab.
I think that happens in like 2 years. They fight each other in boxing. They both make a ton of money. I'm with it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I think it's cool. It would be a lot of interest to people.
What do you think about like Jake Paul and the whole thing that he's doing right now?
I don't hate it. If he wasn't from Ohio, I might hate. I hated it at first. You know what I mean? And then I caught myself hating him, and I was like, "Why am I hating?"
I am down the middle. Like I don't hate him. I don't hate him.
There's actions in which I hate. Like fighting Mike Tyson specifically is something I do not like because he's an old guy. But everything else I'm pretty cool with.
Yeah,
and I'm also very impressed with how he's doing. Like
I think he's got skill.
Yeah.
I think people that act like he doesn't have skill are fooling themselves. He clearly knows how to box. I think he put it to Nate Diaz in a boxing match. I don't like if that's what you're doing though, and you've continued, like, why fight Mike Tyson? It's clearly just for the clout, and I get it. Like fight, but Mike, it's like it's 10 years too late to do that right now. I think.
Yeah. Well, I think it's because Mike fought recently too, so it's like not. What is it with people and like if you hate somebody immediately like attacking their skill level? Like why is it like that with people, somebody successful is like, nah, that guy sucks. And you're like, clearly he doesn't suck. He's undefeated or like for like whoever, right? Conor McGregor, people like he sucks, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't. You shut him out. He sucks. No, he doesn't. You know what I mean? Like,
but it's always people who have
here's why. Skill level.
Because most people, and think about this, find me somebody who people say they suck who don't open their mouth.
Yeah.
That's right. True. So people equate their success only to the fact that they run their mouth, right? Conor sucks. He's just big, popular, and gets all these fights and all this shit because he's a trash talker, right? Sean Strickland sucks because he just runs his mouth. Jake Paul sucks because he runs his mouth. You get somebody that doesn't talk, there isn't the ability. You only have their skill set to look at, and you can't use anything else.
And I personally am okay with saying I don't like Sean Strickland because of who he is as a person.
But he's really
I
good.
think he's a good fighter.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that's like not. Like,
I think he beat Drakus in a rematch. I think he beat Drakus in the first fight, personally.
Yeah, that's just a style thing, man. It's weird. Drakus, he see, Dricus is one of those. I almost caught myself saying he sucks. He doesn't suck. He is good at what he does. He does it at a very high level. Technically, if you watch him from like a different perspective, and you're like, I couldn't do that. I could not fight the way Dricus doesn't have any success. Most people couldn't, but the way he's built, the pop he has, like it works for him. There's some people who are just like they get away with certain stuff, but like when they're in front of you, you probably get why.
Yeah.
That there's something to that. There's something about that. When's that fight?
You got to figure it's probably early next year. Maybe I can't imagine
Oh
that
yeah,
they would
I think they
fight
want
in
to do South
December.
Africa. I think
Yeah.
Dana said that. What about so? I guess the next thing would be when's the Sphere's the next card, right?
Yes.
Who's on that other than
That's
O'Malley? It's O'Malley Marab
and Ortega and Lopez.
Ortega and Lopez. My buddy Josh Ramirez actually just went out and trained with Brian Ortega for
Really?
his camp for this fight out in California. And
I was bummed when that didn't go through.
I love
That
Ortega.
last fight.
Yeah.
I think he's such a dog.
I love Ortega.
Dude,
Ortega's got
Lopez
that.
is
Yeah,
fucking tough, dude. That guy is tough.
That
That fight
be a
with him
split
and Dan
decision.
Ige.
That fight's gonna be a split decision. I just think they're just gonna bang it out.
Yeah. It's crazy too because Ortega's got such a nasty ground game, and yet he's just a dog. Like every fight that you're like, just take it to the ground, like use your jits, and he just stands in there and fucking bangs.
Just like I don't care. That like just keeps walking forward, and you're like, bro, what? But yeah, I've always been a big fan of Brian Ortega.
Yeah, Shevchenko's on that fight.
Yeah, who else? Who's she fight? Trosso, maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know. I like Shevchenko. She's a beast.
Yeah, I have a thing for like highly skilled female fighters. I think there's something. I mean, just definitely sexy to see a girl that's like super skilled. Like
there's something cool about
Joanna when Joanna was in there. Like I loved that.
Dude, I loved Joanna. I was a big fan of her stuff. I followed just her demeanor. She had a very similar, just like
serious.
She had a very confident. Yeah, she's very serious.
Yeah,
but she's very confident. One thing I stole from her was like the writing on the water bottles, like the week of the fight. I saw her do that on like Embedded, and it's just something I applied. You're chugging water gives you a little bit of motivation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Joanna's she was a beast, man. Her come up was sick. And then, I mean, all the women and like Rhonda, like, you know, a lot of people said she sucked. Right?
I was gonna say it's the same thing. A lot of people said she sucked,
but like, first off, she won. You know, she was winning, and a lot of people just like immediately go to hating on somebody. Where it's like, if you just don't like the person, that's okay. It's okay to say you don't like the person. You know what I mean? But don't like attack their skill level when like clearly that's not the
you would
issue.
fuck up 90% of the men that say she sucks. Probably 95% of the men who say she sucks.
Oh yeah. I mean,
like, did she rip your arm out of the socket?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I also like I think one thing I respect about women fighting is like they never will get the respect that they deserve. And there's almost like something more, there's something better and more respectable about that, because like they're never going to get the respect.
Yeah.
And they still grind for what they love. Like, you know, I think like when I look at like one of my best friends, Brittany Bickert, she fights, you know, for our team. She obviously got hurt in her last pro fight, but like, you know, first off,
what'd she do?
She tore her ACL.
Oh
yeah.
I knew it was something with her knee,
but yeah, freak accident. She's always had a bad knee. I think it's a blessing in disguise. I think her knees, she like tore her ACL when she was like a kid, like 12, and she's always had like her knee just like weird. We called her a wonky knee, and it would like impede her from doing regular positions. Like, but she got it fixed, and hopefully, you know, it comes back, and I think it's like a blessing in disguise type of thing. But she was impossible to get a fight for a pro debut. It was impossible for her to like get all this stuff. And you just watch her demeanor as like she committed her entire life to fighting, right? She got a job here. This would have been January 23. And they were like, we're gonna go pro. she had a career, like a legitimate career. And she was like, I'm going to go in. She didn't end up fighting until the following, she debuted after I did, March, right? Just fight after fight, just not like getting canceled or couldn't find an opponent or this person didn't want to fight her because she's scary. And just watching like her and how she like managed that and how she just like was all in still. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure there was times where she was like, what the hell did I just do? But watching somebody like grind through that and come out the other side and get like a dub, like I think like women's fighting is a little bit more respectable sometimes because like you don't there's a little bit more behind the scenes stuff that
Mm-hmm.
doesn't happen or and like at the end of the day, like
Oh, there's a
they're
lot
doing the
more too.
same thing.
They have to think about. I mean, like it or not, most, not all, but most women are sacrificing a family,
Yeah,
like
unfortunately, yeah.
or they're juggling a family. I
Yeah,
mean, you see that even with who Nunez, Amanda. Like
yeah,
I heard she's coming back to fight again, possibly.
yeah. That's I dude, in like even like periods and
Yeah,
stuff like that, like there's so much more that goes
yeah.
into
Oh, I
that.
didn't even think about that.
Yeah, dude, like having to cut weight when you're like going through that, and like it can like physically like keep you from cutting weight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot that goes in. They're just like, I mean, there's other stuff for men too. Like there's give and takes of it.
Yeah.
But I find going through something without there being like a huge like mountaintop thing, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
why I love wrestling. I think wrestling has this same thing because you wrestle and you win an NCAA championship. There could be an NCAA champion that walks down the street, you wouldn't even know who he is. But like they did it for the love of it, or the like it wasn't for like the gratification of other people.
Mm-hmm.
It was for
Well, that's
your own
still,
joy.
unless you're
Yeah.
Connor,
Yeah. MMA is the same way.
those guys could make so much more money doing almost every other sport. Even, boxing, I mean, I think there's a little bit of a misconception. Unless you're a top tier
Yeah,
boxer,
yeah.
you're not making a
Yeah,
whole
the
lot of
guys on the
money.
undercards aren't getting paid
Yeah.
anything.
But like you're taking so much damage and just chipping away years on your life and your health, not because you're going to make a ton of money. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to love it
Yeah. I mean, everything.
or you're not going to stay
Yeah.
with it, right? That first loss and you get half of what you were supposed to get. It's going to be hard to want to go back out there and put in another 12 more weeks, of getting
Yeah,
yourself
dude.
ready and then a hard, 6 to 8 week camp just to go.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, fighting's crazy. It's crazy way to make a living. And it's got a lot of, there's a lot of stressors, a lot of added stuff that comes with it. There's a lot of like, I can't pursue a career or whatever, you know what I mean? But I'm like a career outside of fighting,
Unless you're
you know?
Stipe, which just blows my mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he got the setup, dude. I thought about doing that,
Just
but
becoming a firefighter.
yeah. Well, I almost dropped out of college to be a firefighter.
Really?
I loved it. Yeah. I thought it would be like a really good thing and just like a way to get back. I always kind of wanted to. And I think if I retire at 32, I might do it.
It'd be a
If I
badass job.
retire, yeah, dude. And I love the like the idea of like walking around and like knowing I like help somebody, but like not like getting recognition for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like doing it just for like to help. You know what I mean? Like I love that.
You wouldn't wear like your jacket around or
No,
anything,
I wouldn't be asking
like
for the
calendar,
10
like
percent off discount. No, it'd just be like, like that's just I love that. That's
yeah,
like there's nothing more the respectable about than like a police officer that's like, just like
yeah.
stuff like that. Like I love that. That's like just the realest thing.
I have a buddy. We haven't spoken probably now in 5 or 6 years, but went to high school together. We're really good friends. College, we were freshmen in college together. We both like quit school at the same time. And I remember going to his dorm and he was like, I went to the recruiters. I'm joining the military. I'm like, really? And this dude was always the kind of guy that just had that mentality, like borderline sociopath,
Yeah.
but good person. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
never wanted the attention for things, just did things because he just marched to the beat of his own drum.
Yeah.
And he went into the 82nd Airborne, then became a Ranger, and then became a Green Beret. And I mean, you're talking the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
And the last couple times that I saw him, he came to town, we would go out and people would ask him questions and he wouldn't answer, didn't want to talk about it. And people that didn't know him would ask him what he did for a living. And he said he was a school teacher. Like didn't want to talk
Yeah.
about what he was doing.
I like that.
Just
I like that.
truly
Yeah.
loved doing what he did.
I like that. And then I like that when people are genuinely like that. And that's something like, you know, when you're thinking about things that like, you know, you want to do, right? Like that's something I try to apply in my life, but sometimes it is a little forced. Like if so, one, like when people ask me what my job is, I typically don't say MMA fighter because sometimes I just don't want to have the conversation. Right. But like I'll be like, yeah, I teach kids. Like I work at a gym. And like that's usually what I say. At first it was like I didn't tell people because I didn't they'd be like, this dumbass kid thinks he's a fighter or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But also like just being humble and like putting yourself in humble situations is just like that's something that I genuinely like. That's something that personally like I am somebody that likes recognition. So like taking a step back and like just being like, nah, like I can you can be in the shadows sometimes.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. Like I love when somebody who's like usually quiet talks their shit. You know what I mean? Like there's people in the gym that I'm like, bro, go out and fucking be somebody. You can be somebody else. Like you the way like life works is like you can just choose to be that person at that given time. You know what I mean? Like just go do it. So I love like
they say that's what
certain
Colby's
people.
like.
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
it
he's
doesn't have
taken
to
it.
be fake. It doesn't have to be fake like that, but you can like if you're like a quiet, humble guy and you're
Yeah.
skittish and scared, like if you have the right person, you're fuck it. I'm
Like I'm
Superman.
shocked. I've
You know
talked
what I
to I've
mean?
heard people say it, and I've talked to a couple of people who have been around him in real situations, and they're like, he is not. It is a soap opera character,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
That's
dude,
a little bit different.
that's like over the top though,
I
like
hate that.
soap opera
I
character.
hate that idea. I don't necessarily like. I don't want it to be like your personality. I don't think your personality should change, but like maybe the way you approach a fight or your confidence level,
Mm.
right? Because at the end of the day, like everybody's scared. It's just how you perceive it and how you act upon it, right? If I am actually look scared, then my opponent's going to feel it and it's just going to build upon itself. It's going to build, build, build. But if I like address my fear with confidence, then like eventually it's just going to kill it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, that's true. Yeah. I mean, shit. Even guys like Cowboy,
Yeah.
like
Where
Cerrone Cowboy.
yeah, where he said he like cries backstage or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
Which is
heard that
crazy
before.
because you think about him as being like one of the toughest dudes in everything that he does.
Well, yeah. And I also like that's respectable too. Like that's like you know what I mean? Like you let your emotions out. Like let the emotions out. They're there for a reason. Your emotions are there for a reason. You're about to fight in front of everybody, in front of your family, in front of like you could get hurt. Your kids like
So you don't know this, right?
What?
Losing in front of all your friends and family yet. I mean, maybe
Not a fight. No,
so.
I haven't got knocked out. I haven't got submitted in front of all my friends and family, but I've lost
I'll let people.
times.
I'm sure I'll probably get fucking roasted by people on social media, but like you can go look up my amateur MMA fight.
Yeah.
It's there for everybody to see on YouTube still to
Yeah.
this day. And dude, I had people driving from my home for like it's funny. I got into training MMA, amateur MMA. Didn't have it was in 2011. So it was before things really got progressed, right? And didn't have like a background in anything, was just athletic. Started training, was like, if you asked me what my style was, I was a dirty boxer. Like it was, didn't really have good boxing skills, didn't have grappling skills.
Dirty boxer is the funniest term in fighting. It's just like,
like literally, dude,
I'm a shitty boxer.
Yeah, it was like, it was just like, I was strong, I was bigger than people, and I just kind of like tried to make it dirty. And
yeah.
my coach, his name is Art Volgamore. Art was an old Navy SEAL from Vietnam.
Sick name.
Yeah, dude, he was a badass. And he still coaches Patchy Mix. So Patchy, I think I told you, like he was in high school and he would come I trained on an Indian reservation. And I just remember going to Columbus. I cut 30 pounds to make 185. I was so big.
Yeah.
And when I first started to do it, people in my hometown, like, oh, fighting MMA, and
Yeah.
just talking so much shit. And then posted that I had a fight, and people were still talking shit. But then some people, as it got closer, they're like, hey, we're going to support you. We're going to buy your shirts.
Yeah.
I remember being in the hotel and people who I'm like, what are you doing? And they're like, we came to watch you. I had like
Yeah.
people that I didn't even know I was that close with showed up to support me, only to get my jaw dislocated
Yeah.
with a rear naked. And I'll tell you what, dude, I took from that, in all honesty, it was like one of the most pivotal moments of my life
How could it
because
not be? You
I
know
was
what I mean?
like, I'm not going to sulk in the fact that I lost at something that I had the courage to go and try.
Yeah.
And I'm
Dude.
not going to make excuses for it either because it's like,
Yeah.
it happened. Like, you can't make an excuse. You were healthy, you trained hard, you showed up, you went in there, and some other man fucking put it to you.
Dude, Amy debuts are like the most pure and like they're amazing because they're so scared. You know what I mean? And I love it. Like that, when I look back, like it was such a pivotal moment for me because I decided against a lot of people's like judgment, what people think. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. I don't care. Right. And you can support me or you cannot. And everybody has that moment. Every amateur fighter has that moment. And that Amy debut is like, it means so much to them. It means the world to them, right? It's not even as cool as a pro debut. Pro debut is cool, right? It's awesome, but you've already fought. Like you've done it,
Yeah.
right? When you get an Amy debut, the excitement in the air, like the backstage feeling,
Oh, dude,
you
it was
can't replicate it. It's like,
not.
oh, you're like nervous, dude. I love it.
And
Like,
also, this will explain why I probably lost. Like, I think back on this now, I'm like, no wonder. I remember going and they're like, okay, you're up next. So I'm like getting ready. I'm with my team, and this music starts playing, and I'm like standing there, like, go, go. And I'm like, no, no, that's not my song. They played the wrong walkout music,
dude, yeah.
but the fact, like, my mind was so in the wrong, like I wasn't where I needed to be,
Yeah.
clearly.
Yeah, dude, I had my whole thing rehearsed, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like in my head, I've like stoked out the venue, walked around, like I loved it, man. Like my
Hmm.
Amy debut, just like I remember it like the back of my hand, and it was amazing.
I remember mine up until they put me out with a shot of Demerol to reset my jaw at the hospital.
Yeah, I got like that. That didn't happen to
And I
me.
was winning, dude. I was winning the fight, and
Uh,
I watch it now. I'm just somebody in jujitsu. I'm like, what the fuck were you thinking? Like, why
right.
did you do that?
Zig
Like,
when you do the
dumb.
zag,
Oh,
that's the
zig
fight game.
3 or 4 times, and yeah,
I love
it
that.
was nasty.
I love
But
that. But that's the coolest thing about fighting is like you mess up once and
yeah,
it's over.
yeah.
Like that's the coolest thing about fighting. That's why fighting is respectable. That's why people came to watch you because people are like, I can't believe this motherfucker is actually about
Hmm.
to go do this because it's so insane and it's so like a lot of people imagine all your friends have probably watched a UFC fight and have been like, man, what if I did that? Blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah. You actually did it. You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Oh, I
Like,
look at that. It's
yeah,
something I'll always.
yeah. So like there's always like, that's always something that you can carry and be like,
Hmm.
I've done something that like a lot of people haven't. A lot of people were scared to do. The amount of people that think about fighting in a cage, millions. The amount of people that actually do it, couple thousand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's not it. That's even at the amateur level. Like I respect all the amateur fighters,
Hmm.
right? That's just you're doing it for the love of the game at that point, and
Yeah.
that's what's most important.
You're making me feel better.
Yeah,
No,
yeah. You should feel better.
till I go home and
So
watch it.
yeah, I wouldn't watch it. I would watch it once. I'd be like,
Report it
I'd be
on.
like, damn, I
I
shouldn't
should
have
go
done
and
that.
report it on fucking YouTube. Be
Yeah,
like, this is not cool to be on this fucking
yeah. Maybe you
platform.
should clip it in the video.
I will.
You
I've actually, I think I did post it once on Instagram where it was like, I actually did I stopped it where the kid had me, he got me like right across the face and fucking just like
Oh, he
space.
broke your jaw from that.
Yeah, like he got
Whoa.
me up against the cage. I had him up against the cage and I gave him an underhook and he reversed me and he just took my back standing and got me in a fucking rear naked. I put my chin down. I was like, oh, I'm gonna stop this. And he fucking
Like, you
just
can't rear naked me.
popped it right out
Pop
of the
your jaw. You're
socket.
like, I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
That's
definitely. That
dude.
sucked.
Yeah. It's good to laugh at yourself every once in a while,
Oh
man,
yeah.
dude. It's good to be able to laugh at yourself. I think that's something that a lot of people that fight can do because like at the end of the day, one of these days you're gonna be on the losing side of things, and like you gotta be able to just be like, well,
Yeah,
that sucks,
absolutely.
you know?
Yeah. And you can see that in so many other things. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? So many other times I've tried things that I would have never tried. And I'm like, well, it can't be as bad as that.
yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I
There's a
mean,
lot
I've
of
truly thought that before. I'm like, yeah, it cannot be that bad.
dude. I still get scared to like get on a microphone and like talk in front of people,
Really?
and yeah, and they had me do it at Stout fights. And he's like, go up there for my sponsor, Clean Eats. He's like, go up there and like talk about clean eats. I was like, but I don't want to. He was like, it's practice. I was like, but I'm scared. Like, I don't want to do that. And then Mike and Andy were like, you have to. They were like, you're gonna be doing it. They were like, you fight people. I was like, yeah, you're right. Like, I should be able to do
No,
it.
here you are
Right?
doing a podcast,
Yeah, like
right?
little stuff like this, right? And throwing yourself out there and just like, at the end of the day, like people are gonna judge you, but I would rather people judge me for trying to do a podcast or trying to promote this, trying than people be like, man, he should have done more 10 years from now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. Dude, regret's the worst thing.
Yeah, regrets. I would, yeah, I'd rather people laugh at me than regret.
Regret and quitting, like the two things.
Yeah.
My youngest brother, before we drop on this, I want to give him a shout. So like oldest of four, my youngest brother has had so many ups and downs. But when I look at all of us, I'm like, you're the most capable. Like you had the three of us beating the piss out of you. You've gone through so much adversity throughout your life. He moved out to LA, tried to like figure things out there, and is just he second guesses everything that he does.
Yeah.
And from the outside, sometimes it can be frustrating because I'm like, you don't realize just how much more you have than even I did.
Yeah.
I didn't have all the examples. And he called me and he's like, I'm leaving for Texas in a couple of weeks. I'm like, for what? He's like, I joined the Air Force. I'm like, no shit. And then he went and did his qualifications for special forces and he passed it. So he's going to do basic and then leave from there to go into the selection process.
Dude, that's
So
awesome.
I'm
That's
like,
awesome.
dude, and it's like the one thing I told him. I'm like, if you quit, nobody will remember. Nobody will care. You will never forget. You can't quit.
Yeah.
Like you've got to fucking just, I don't care if you get in.
Yeah.
If you quit, you will never live a day without thinking that you quit.
Yeah. And I think, like being the youngest of brothers, I think like, I talked to my brother. My brother just like had his first kid, talked to him for an hour on the phone yesterday, and just like, older brothers think so highly of their younger brother.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. And
he probably would think opposite.
And I, yeah. And like I think so highly of my like that bond between brothers it's unbreakable. And it can even be replicated in friendships, but like something about like just your blood brother and like seeing them do stuff or seeing them like for me it's seeing my brothers start families. Like my oldest brother got engaged today.
Oh, dude.
He just got the picture.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just got the picture and like that.
You like her?
Oh, she's
okay, good.
Amazing. She's way too good for him, but but that's what we want.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I saw the picture and there's like a picture of him smiling at her, and I was just like that. And like,
Nothing makes you happy.
Brought tears to my eyes.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, fuck, dude. You know what I mean? Because just everything they've gone through, and seeing that, man, there's nothing better.
No, absolutely. Well, listen, if it wasn't obvious, this is going to be a regular thing.
Yeah.
We will probably be in a different studio. We're trying to figure some things out.
Yeah.
Figure it all out. Got to figure out a name, figure out all the stuff that doesn't matter. But
yeah,
I'm excited to continue to follow along and, get to the next fight. I can't wait to,
Yeah.
be there, watch it, kind of
Yeah.
fucking chat afterwards, see what the hell's going on.
I'm
Like,
excited to talk during fight camp. I think that'll be cool.
oh hell yeah.
And then after the fight.
Yeah, I'm curious. I'm actually really interested just to see the change in demeanor of you. Like as we get closer and closer, the one thing that I'm really interested in is like how much does your persona, how much does your demeanor change while you're training like that?
Does a little bit too.
I would imagine it has to.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.